Coming up, authorities release details about a body found on I-44.
Skywatch storm tracker considerably more quiet today. That's because the sun is back and so is the heat. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And a Joplin woman takes up the fight on clearing up common misconceptions about human trafficking.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. Boy, that rain yesterday was nice.
It was a welcome sight.
It certainly was. And you know, we talked about we've got a little floodplain in front of the station we call Lake KOAM. And usually with even just the slightest amount of rain, that thing fills up. And I checked it yesterday after the rain was done, like right after, completely dry. The ground just soaked all of that in. That's how dry things have been. And we need more rain. And the good news is there are isolated storm chances over the next few days. So not everybody's going to get rain, unfortunately. It means most of us are going to be pretty dry, but at least there are some rain chances. We also, unfortunately, have to deal with this. So we've got heat advisories that kick in this afternoon. They'll run until 8 tonight, and then they'll kick in again tomorrow afternoon and run through tomorrow night as well. 7th range line right now, it looks clear, but that's also because it's quite dark out, but it is clear. 75 degrees as we start the day, a little bit cooler than what we were at this time yesterday, but a little bit more mild than what we'd like to be this time of day. All of us starting out in the 70s today. Dew points are up there into that unpleasant zone of muggy to soupy, and that's what's going to contribute to those heat advisories is heat index values that will be unpleasant. We do have the isolated T-storms that will be possible today, and it's certainly going to be heating up, highs pushing in the mid to upper 90s. Lows again in the 70s tonight, but a bit more mild than what we have been seeing. It's going to be mostly clear otherwise with a nice southeast breeze. We're going to take a look at the weekend forecast as well because I know everybody been looking forward to it. Everybody's working for the weekend, and they're doing it today. So we'll let you know what you can expect this weekend. And, yeah, that's just going to be hot again.
But at least it's not going to be triple-digit hot. Close.
It might be.
Don't say that.
It might be, unfortunately. But like I said, the one thing that's changed compared to the last round of triple-digit heat that we had is there's isolated thunderstorm chances off and on through the next several days. So again, most of us will stay dry, but some of us may pick up a little bit of rain here and there over the next few days. Okay. And that's a promising sign of changes on the way. Hopefully this will continue to be a trend that builds and we can start getting caught up on much-needed rain. And again, believe it or not, we're still a pinch above where we should be
which
for
is
our
hard to
average
believe.
for rain because of everything we saw earlier this year. It dumped a year's worth of rain within a month and then just stopped.
Yep, we need to get back ahead again.
Exactly, we do.
Nice.
We do.
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, authorities in Oklahoma have identified a body found along I-44 near the Miami exit last week. Authorities say the body is that of 53-year-old Richard Ashley of Chelsea, Oklahoma. An autopsy determined Ashley died from being hit by a vehicle. Investigators say the driver did not stop or report the incident. Oklahoma Highway Patrol and the Quapaw Nation Marshal Service are trying to identify what vehicle was involved. A Grove, Oklahoma woman is charged with aggravated trafficking fentanyl. In May, investigators received a tip that Julie Wise was dealing large amounts of fentanyl pills from her home. After stopping a vehicle leaving Wise's home for making an illegal U-turn, police found her in possession of 200 pills. The 30-year-old admitted that since March, she has purchased about 1,000 pills, selling for $30 each. Wise is also charged with possession of a firearm after a felony conviction and unlawful use of a telecommunications facility. On Wednesday, we told you about a partnership between the SEK Humane Society and Paw Prints on the Heartland ending after 22 years. Now, it ended because they couldn't agree to terms on a new lease. At the time, the Humane Society declined to comment, but now they have released a statement. The statement says in part, quote, "It became apparent that the property being occupied by Paw Prints was not being adequately insured or maintained. In order for the Humane Society to legally protect the organization as a whole, it was advised to require a standard written commercial lease agreement by Paw Prints," end quote. The disagreement resulted in Paw Prints being evicted. You can find the Humane Society's full statement on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. A heroic rescue in Joplin on Thursday. Firefighters assisted the city's animal control to rescue a dog that had fallen off the top of the cliffs at Wildcat Glades, commonly known as Mother Nature's Crack. Officials say the dog appeared to have been there 3 or 4 days and was injured and dehydrated. Crews climbed down and brought a boat near the cliff to rescue the pup, who is now recovering. Well, Joplin School District officials are putting the word out about a change at the state level, making it easier to become certified as a substitute teacher. And now in Missouri, it takes only 36 college credit hours to become certified, where it previously took 60. There's also a 20-hour online training course that you can take. Joplin officials hope the change will encourage more people to apply ahead of the coming school year. Well, a Joplin woman is trying to spread a message about common misconceptions concerning human trafficking. Angie Brower from Rafa International in Joplin recently addressed UN delegates on the subject remotely. She says many young victims get brainwashed and do not see themselves as victims.
These are my friends, and maybe even their trafficker, pretended to be their boyfriend. That happens a lot, and they get these young women to fall in love with them. And if you would just do this for me, then this many times, then you and I can go make a life together. You won't have to do this forever. And that is how they get drawn in.
A national hotline seeks to help victims of human trafficking and provide information on the issue. You can get a link to that number at KOAMnewsnow.com. A Joplin-based breastfeeding group is holding an event to celebrate World Breastfeeding Week. Chi Chi Mamas is an online Facebook group with more than 3,000 members. And they hold a breastfeeding celebration this Saturday at Joplin's Senior Center.
This year, the event Chi Chi Mamas and the breastfeeding celebration is centered around support. So that is a huge, huge thing that can make or break breastfeeding.
We'll meet quarterly at the Joplin Health Department starting in November. Missouri Southern's Webster Hall is getting a colorful student hangout. A space that was formerly used for storage is now becoming a new spot for students to relax between classes. The Department of Art and Design, Administration, and participants in MSU's Leadership Academy are creating a floor-to-ceiling mural on 2 walls adjacent to the main staircase.
I try to make sure that projects are structured in a way that people who don't have any artistic training or don't do a lot of painting have meaningful work to do on the project. I have a strict no fake work.
A local furniture store is donating all the furniture for Webster Hall's new student corner. Well, yesterday marked the first Thursday of August, which means it's time for another art walk in downtown Joplin. One of the businesses taking part, Club 609. They presented work by artist couple Jim and Diana Bray through a show called The Vanishing Landscape. Jim uses acrylics and Diana uses 3D abstracts.
Those areas that I grew up around, kind of stayed with me. And I've been always interested in the old wooden houses, barns, and all of the things that were left by the people who migrated into that area.
There are 2 art walks left. That means October will be the last month to attend this year.
So as you head out the door today, it's in the 70s. We're going to be pushing highs in the mid to upper 90s with heat advisories kicking in and maybe an isolated storm or 2. Going into the overnight, temperatures dropping off into the 70s. A bit more mild than what we've seen the last couple of nights, but not bad otherwise. Mostly clear, the southeast breeze at 5 to 10. And for the weekend, it's going to be another hot one. Those heat advisories run through Saturday. That actually should say Saturday and Sunday, not Friday and Saturday. But you get the idea. It's going to be sunny and hot. Maybe an isolated T-storm again, but otherwise not too bad.
Not too shabby.
Just hot.
All right. Well, that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the Cardinals are headed to London. We'll have the details.
Plus, the officers that killed Breonna Taylor are being charged in federal court.
And we'll have when you can expect new boosters from Pfizer and Moderna. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Well, the Pittsburgh American Legion baseball team is playing in the Mid-South Regional Tournament in Birmingham, Alabama this week. Post 64 lost their opener, so yesterday they faced elimination against Shelby County, Alabama. Pittsburgh started fast, scoring 9 runs in the first inning. They'd go on to win 11-0. Caden Harrison goes 2 for 4 with a pair of RBIs. Post 64 will be back in action this morning at 10 a.m. Major League Baseball announces that the St. Louis Cardinals will play a pair of games in London next summer. The Cards play a 2-game set against the Chicago Cubs at London Stadium on June 24th and 25th of next year. It'll be just the second time Major League Baseball has had a regular season game in Europe. Red Sox and Yankees played in London back in 2019. As part of the league's international series, there will also be games in Japan and Mexico in the next few years. Now, staying with the Cards and the Cubs, the two teams finish up a 3-game series yesterday afternoon with a doubleheader after Game 2 was rained out. Now here's Game 1. The Cardinals aiming for their 3rd straight win and 5th win in their last 6 games. The Cards go down early on the Wilson Contreras home run. They were down 3-0 at one point, but in the 7th, here they come. Nolan Gorman connects and takes this one out for the solo shot. His 12th, it's now 3-1. Next batter, Paul Goldschmidt, gets one of his own. This is his 26th, and it's now a 1-run game. To the bottom of the 9th, it's 3-3. Cards with runners on 1st and 2nd. Lars Nootbaar, gonna be the hero. Base hit, Nolan Arenado scores, walk-off single for Nootbaar. Cardinals take Game 1 4-3. So Game 2, Cardinals trying to sweep the day and the series. That game, Cards win it 7-2. Tyler O'Neill goes 1 for 3 on the night with a 3-run homer. Switching over to the American League, Kansas City Royals welcome in the Boston Red Sox for Game 1 of a 4-game series. Royals enter the night having lost back-to-back games in 7 of their last 9. They got this one, though, 7-3 the final. Salvador Perez goes 2 for 4 on the night with a home run and 4 RBIs. Carlos Dunlap got on the field at training camp for the first time in a Chiefs uniform. Chiefs signed the veteran defensive end last Thursday to a 1-year deal. Dunlap spoke to the media after practice about getting to St. Joe and why Kansas City was where he chose to be 13 years into his NFL career.
Great opportunity with a great organization. What they've done the last few years, playing against them on the other side of the ball, I wanted to add what my specialties to it, and we felt like we had mutual interest. These last week or so, ever since camp started, things heated up, but I liked what I heard from the Chiefs. That's why I came out here to meet with them in person to see how I fit, see how they would use me, see how I would contribute, see if it was a fit, and I'm here.
Well, still to come, it's been 2 years since the country of Lebanon changed forever, all due to a port explosion that left 25 dead and thousands injured. Plus, we're going to take a look at your forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. We are starting the day pretty nice, but we've got heat advisories. They go into effect later today, and they'll run until about 8 o'clock tonight, and they'll go in effect again tomorrow and run through about 8 or 9 o'clock tomorrow as well, because it's going to be hot. Right now, it's not so hot. It's mild, but it's not hot. 75 start the day in Joplin. Most of us starting in the 70s this morning. And those dew points are already up there. They're in the 70s, which, even though there's no heat index right now, it's going to be the problem later. We're in that muggy to soupy range, rather, on those dew points, because later, heat index values pushing upwards of 105. As we head into the mid to upper 90s for highs, we got those heat advisories kicking in. There's a chance of an isolated storm or two, but most of us will remain dry. Going through the night, getting into the 70s. It's going to be a bit more mild than what we have been seeing. Otherwise, mostly clear with a southeast breeze at about 5 to 10 miles an hour. And if you've got weekend plans, now take a look. See, I fixed the days. The numbers, the forecast is right. I just forgot to change the days. That happens sometimes. It's very early in the morning. You don't always see that. But otherwise, 99 Saturday, 99 Sunday. It's going to be sunny. It's going to be hot. Might see an isolated T-storm on Saturday. And those heat advisories, as we mentioned, will run through Saturday. And, of course, they could be reissued. That's been the trend as we continue to see temperatures pushing close to 100 degrees. Well, for current and former Louisville, Kentucky police officers now federally charged over the deadly raid of Breonna Taylor's home in 2020. Attorney General Merrick Garland saying the officers violated federal civil rights laws, which resulted in Taylor's death. Jen Sullivan has the latest.
Say her name.
Breonna Taylor.
Say her name.
Breonna Taylor. On Thursday, outside a Louisville courthouse, Breonna Taylor's family and their attorney marking a, quote, huge step towards justice following the botched raid that killed the 26-year-old black woman in 2020.
Because of Breonna Taylor, we can say this is a day that black women saw equal justice in the United States of America.
4 current and former Louisville police officers have been charged with civil rights violations and other federal counts in connection with the raid.
Those alleged crimes include civil rights offenses, unlawful conspiracies, unconstitutional use of force, and obstruction offenses.
Former Detective Joshua Janes, Sergeant Kyle Meany, and Detective Kelly Goodlett were charged with submitting a false affidavit to search Taylor's home before the raid.
The charges announced today also allege that the officers responsible for falsifying the affidavit that led to the search took steps to cover up their unlawful conduct after Ms. Taylor was killed.
Ex-detective Brett Hankinson, who fired 10 shots into Taylor's home during the raid, was charged with several federal counts, including depriving Taylor and others of their constitutional rights. On Thursday, Taylor's mom, Tamika Palmer, said she's waited 874 days for federal charges to be filed.
Y'all learning what we've been saying was the truth, that they shouldn't have been there.
I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
The killing of Breonna Taylor, along with George Floyd, sparked nationwide protests in 2020. Kentucky has since passed a law limiting the use of no-knock warrants. And that brings us to our something to talk about. Do you think the officers in the Breonna Taylor case should have been charged? Yes or no? We want to hear from you. You can vote, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Do so in the app. And of course, take part in the discussion on our Facebook page. We're back with Healthwatch right after this.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, a new study finds children battling long COVID had a much greater chance of having serious lung, heart, kidney, and pancreatic problems than kids who did not get COVID. The Centers for Disease Control considers it long COVID when symptoms last 4 or more weeks after the initial infection. The CDC looked at data from nearly 800,000 kids and adolescents diagnosed with COVID and compared them to 2.5 million kids who were not diagnosed with the coronavirus. The study looked at data from the start of March of 2020 to the end of January 2022. Kids with long COVID had higher rates of acute pulmonary embolism, myocarditis, cardiomyopathy, kidney failure, and are more likely to develop type 1 diabetes. The United States may soon have a new tool to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. Pfizer and Moderna are developing what's known as bivalent boosters. Those are vaccines that are comprised of the old formula, along with a new one that focuses on the Omicron BA4 and BA5 subvariants. The Food and Drug Administration says if they approve the shots, they could become available as soon as next month. Officials say roughly 124,000 COVID-19 cases are confirmed each day. But the accuracy is in question because many cases are undercounted. Well, the Biden administration has declared monkeypox a public health emergency. Cases have been on the rise across the U.S. recently, and since the first U.S. monkeypox case was identified in mid-May, more than 6,600 probable or confirmed cases have been detected across the country in every state except Montana and Wyoming. Some states, including California, Illinois, and New York, have already declared monkeypox an emergency, allowing them to allocate funding and resources to help fight the outbreak. Public health experts say it was past time to declare the outbreak a national emergency, pointing to delays in ordering bulk stocks of the monkeypox vaccine despite confirmed cases in the U.S. The National Institutes of Health will be studying an experimental monkeypox treatment. The clinical trial will study the benefits and risks that come with a drug called tecovirimat. It's sold by the name TPOXX. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has made it available through expanded access during the global outbreak. This clinical trial announcement comes after public health experts criticized the U.S. for lagging behind other countries in efforts to study the drug. TPOXX was approved in the U.S. to treat smallpox in 2018, but it's not yet approved in the treatment of monkeypox. Its benefits were investigated by infecting animals with related viruses, including monkeypox. Researchers say there needs to be more studies to see how well TPOXX works in humans. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
So we're starting the day pretty decent out there. Most of us in the lower to mid 70s this morning. Not a bad start, a little bit more mild than what it has been, but not bad otherwise. What is bad are these dew points. They are pushing us to the muggy and soupy range, and that's why we have heat advisories that'll kick in later today, because we're talking heat index values pushing upwards of 105. Temperatures going into the mid to upper 90s. There is the chance of an isolated T-storm or two across the area. Otherwise, dry and hot. Clear through the night, a little bit more mild this evening, otherwise mostly clear with the southeast breeze about 5 to 10. If you got weekend plans, it's going to be a hot one. Isolated storm or two possible Saturday, clear on Sunday, 99 for the highs both days. And those heat advisories will run through Saturday through about 8 or 9 o'clock. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Coming up, authorities release details about a body found on I-44.
We've got heat advisories yet again, a very orange map to start our Friday. We'll have the latest in the Skywatch Weather Center.
And a Joplin woman takes up the fight on clearing up common misconceptions about human trafficking.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. So just one time, we go to the pool and we forget the sunblock.
Oh, you're peeling now, aren't you?
That's the weird thing. I haven't been peeling, but I've been itching for the last several days, and it's been bad. I've been using every element of this set to scratch my back because, by the way, there are no KOAM back scratchers available.
No.
And it's just been an unpleasant experience to say the least. So whatever you do, if you're going to be out, take the sunscreen with you. Mm-hmm. Don't forget it. Because here's the thing, I love my wife and I trust her to no end, and she said, you know what, it probably won't be that bad. And I said, she's pretty smart. I'm like, I don't think it will be. It shouldn't be that bad. We're not going to be out there all day. No.
You can get sunburned in the winter.
It was bad. She's not itching like I am. And yes, you can. Yeah, I mean, hopefully you're not running around when it's 30 degrees and snowing and you're shirtless all day. But at the same time, people deal with temperatures differently than some of us do. I mean, my mom was cold all year round, so weather like what we've got today,
she might have to wear a sweater.
Yeah, she might still be in her sweatshirt and long pants because it would still be cold to her. Heat advisories going into effect today and through 8 o'clock, and they'll go into effect again tomorrow afternoon, and this is going to be another hot one. Heat index values could push upwards of 105. Not too bad to start the day, 75 in Joplin, most of us starting the day in the 70s. And as we progress through the day, oh yeah, by the way, those dew points, that's why we're going to have these high heat index values. Afternoon highs pushing mid to upper 90s, maybe an isolated T-storm late in the day. And as we head into the night, 70s for overnight lows, but clearing out and a nice light southeast breeze. So,
all right, well, that's good news.
It is good news.
Hopefully we can get some of that rain here.
If only everyone worked and was awake at night and we slept during the day, then this is the perfect forecast. Mm-hmm. Absolutely perfect forecast.
And you wouldn't get a sunburn.
And you would not get a sunburn going to the pool at 2 a.m. You would not get a sunburn. I certainly would hope not anyway. I don't know. I'm one of those guys, I'd probably find a way to get sunburned at 2 a.m. in the swimming pool.
Probably a moonburn or something.
Yeah, that or from the lights, at the pool. Yeah.
Maybe so.
It's possible. You never know.
Moving along. All right, authorities in Oklahoma have identified a body found along I-44 near the Miami exit last week. Authorities say the body is that of 53-year-old Richard Ashley of Chelsea, Oklahoma. An autopsy determined Ashley died from being hit by a vehicle. Investigators say the driver did not stop or report the incident. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol and the Quapaw Nation Marshal Service are trying to identify what vehicle was involved. A Grove, Oklahoma woman is charged with aggravated trafficking fentanyl. In May, investigators received a tip that Julie Wise was dealing large amounts of fentanyl pills from her home. After stopping a vehicle leaving Wise's home for making an illegal U-turn, police found her in possession of 200 pills. The 30-year-old admitted that since March, she has purchased about 1,000 pills, selling for $30 each. Wise was also in possession of a firearm charged with possession of a firearm after a felony conviction and unlawful use of a telecommunications facility. A heroic rescue in Joplin on Thursday. Firefighters assisted the city's animal control to rescue a dog that had fallen off the top of the cliffs at Wildcat Glades. commonly known as Mother Nature's crack. Officials say the dog appeared to have been there 3 or 4 days and was injured and dehydrated. Crews climbed down and brought a boat near the cliff to rescue the pup, who is now recovering. Joplin School District officials are putting the word out about a change at the state level, making it easier to become certified as a substitute teacher. Now in Missouri, it takes only 36 college credit hours to become certified, where it previously took 60. There's also a 20-hour online training course that you can take. Joplin officials hope the change will encourage more people to apply ahead of the coming school year. A Joplin-based breastfeeding group is holding an event to celebrate National Breastfeeding Week. Chi-Chi Mamas is an online Facebook group with more than 3,000 members. They are holding a breastfeeding celebration this Saturday at 10:30 at Joplin's Senior Center.
To bring everybody together and to show them, that we definitely do support breastfeeding. Here in Missouri, about 80% of all moms start breastfeeding, and we just like to keep that up.
The group will also meet quarterly at the Joplin Health Department starting in November. Missouri Southern's Webster Hall is getting a colorful student hangout. A space that was formerly used as storage is now becoming a new spot for students to relax between classes. The Department of Art and Design Administration and participants in MSSU's Leadership Academy are creating a floor-to-ceiling mural on 2 walls adjacent to the main staircase.
We thought, you know what, it'd be great if we could clean up a space for students to hang out in. And so this is the building we gravitated towards. And as we wanted to kind of push the boundaries of what we were doing, we thought, it'd be really cool if we could get a mural.
A local furniture store is donating all the furniture for Webster Hall's new student corner. Well, human trafficking is an ongoing battle throughout the world. In Joplin, Survivor Care Director Angie Brower recently gave a presentation to UN delegates on the topic, and local police are regularly training. KOAM's Yana Hadula takes a look at what experts around the world and locally are learning.
It's not a movie scenario. These are real-world victims and are oftentimes victimized by someone they know.
These are my friends, and maybe even their trafficker, pretended to be their boyfriend. That happens a lot. And they get these young women to fall in love with them. And if you would just do this for me, then this many times, then you and I can go make a life together. You won't have to do this forever. And that is how they get drawn in.
This is why young girls may get very attached to their traffickers. And getting out from it may not be as easy as you would think because of the place of trauma. One tool after a victim is found is assessment of survivor outcomes. Brower says it evaluates what can help the victim move past trauma and continue their life.
We want to look at things like, what's their assertiveness ability like? Are they able to find their voice and speak up for themselves? Do they understand now what it looks like when someone is manipulating you? Or are they likely to step back into a situation that could be very dangerous for them?
From there, the goal is to get the victim to a safer and better life. And while Brower helps those local and worldwide, police in Joplin works to ensure their community stays safe.
We're trained to investigate the case, find the crime, get the victim out of that situation, and then put the bad guys in jail.
Police Sergeant Andy Blair helps train other law enforcement.
Letting people know that it's not okay in our city, that we're not going to have it here, and we're going to keep fighting it.
In Joplin, Yana Hadula, KOAM News.
A national hotline seeks to help victims of human trafficking and provide information on the issue. You can get a link to that number on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com.
Dew points are already up there in the 70s this morning, and that puts us in that muggy to soupy range. So we do have heat advisories that go into effect as heat index values pushing 105, maybe a pinch higher, as afternoon highs hit mid-90s to upper 90s, and there might be an isolated thunderstorm heading into the overnight. Temperatures dropping back into the 70s with a light southeast breeze, about 5 to 10. Otherwise, it's going to be mostly clear and a bit more mild than what we've seen lately, but not too bad overall.
All right. Temperatures could stay right there.
If only they would.
Well, this morning we are discussing Breonna Taylor. On Thursday, outside of Louisville courthouse, Breonna Taylor's family and their attorney marked a, quote, huge step towards justice following the botched raid that killed the 26-year-old black woman in 2020. 4 current and former Louisville police officers have been charged with civil rights violations and other federal counts in connection with the raid. Former Detective Joshua Janes, Sergeant Kyle Meany, and Detective Kelly Goodlett were charged with submitting a false affidavit to search Taylor's home before the raid. Ex-detective Brett Hankinson, who fired 10 shots into Taylor's home during the raid, was charged with several federal counts, including depriving Taylor and others of their constitutional rights. On Thursday, Taylor's mom, Tamika Palmer, said she's waited 874 days for federal charges to be filed.
And that brings us to our something to talk about this morning. Do you think the officers in the Breonna Taylor case should have been charged? You can vote yes or no. So far, 84% of you say yes, 16% say no. Make sure you vote. KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Do so in the app and take part in our Facebook discussion.
There you go. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. 3 boys are home safe, all thanks to a police canine.
Plus, the Great Barrier Reef records its highest amount of coral cover since monitoring began 36 years ago. We'll have the details.
You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch, a Russian court convicted WNBA star Brittany Griner Thursday of smuggling drugs with criminal intent. She was then sentenced to 9 years in jail and fined about $16,000. Griner was accused of trying to smuggle less than 1 gram of cannabis oil in a vape pen inside her luggage back in February. Griner, who plays for a Russian team in the WNBA offseason, was arrested at a Moscow airport. Griner pleaded guilty to drug charges last month, and she apologized in court Thursday and asked for leniency, saying she did not mean to break Russian law and that it was an honest mistake. Griner's lawyers say the court ignored all the evidence they presented and they will appeal the verdict. President Joe Biden said the lengthy sentence was unacceptable and called on Russia to release her immediately. A large fire is spreading in a German forest after several explosions at a police ammunition disposal site, according to Berlin's fire brigade. The blaze broke out on Thursday morning in Grunewald and is spreading across 3.7 acres. Massive explosions could be heard from the disposal site, which is used to defuse old military supplies from World War II, as well as fireworks and weapons. Berlin Fire Brigade Director Karsten Hormishagen told reporters that residential homes are not currently at risk, but cautioned the blaze could spread due to the dry conditions of the forest. Well, hundreds of people gathered at the port in Beirut to mark the 2 years since a blast there changed the country forever. On August 4th, 2020, a massive explosion rocked the Lebanese capital near Beirut's port, leaving at least 215 people dead and thousands injured. The blast had been linked to a large supply of ammonium nitrate, highly explosive material that had been stored at the port for more than 6 years without preventative measures. Mourners on Thursday held pictures of loved ones killed in the blast and banners demanding justice. No one has been held accountable. Well, parts of the Great Barrier Reef have recorded their highest amount of coral cover since monitoring began 36 years ago. An Australian Institute of Marine Science survey found average hard coral cover in the upper and central areas of the reef increased by about a third. The Institute's survey examined 87 reefs from August of 2021 and May of 2022. It's a rare piece of good news for the world's famous reef, which underwent its 6th mass bleaching event in March. Now, bleaching is a result of warmer than normal water temperatures, which triggers a stress reaction from the corals and can take nearly a decade to recover from. The Institute's CEO said the increase in coral is a sign the reef could still recover from mass bleaching. An Australian Marine Conservation Society official cautioned while the report was a sign of progress, the reef remains at risk. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back with the news you need to know before you head out the door. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Authorities in Oklahoma identify a body found along I-44 near the Miami exit last week. Authorities say the body is that of 53-year-old Richard Ashley of Chelsea, Oklahoma. An autopsy determined Ashley died from being hit by a vehicle. Investigators say the driver did not stop or report the incident. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol and Quapaw Nation Marshal Service are trying to identify what vehicle was involved. A Grove, Oklahoma woman is charged with aggravated trafficking fentanyl. In May, investigators received a tip that Julie Wise was dealing large amounts of fentanyl pills from her home. After stopping a vehicle leaving Wise's home for making an illegal U-turn, police found her in possession of 200 pills. The 30-year-old admitted that since March, she has purchased about 1,000 pills selling for $30 each. Wise is also charged with possession of a firearm after a felony conviction and unlawful use of a telecommunications facility. A heroic rescue in Joplin on Thursday. Firefighters assisted the city's animal control to rescue a dog that had fallen off the top of the cliffs at Wildcat Glades, commonly known as Mother Nature's Crack. Officials say the dog appeared to have been there 3 or 4 days and was injured and dehydrated. Crews climbed down and brought a boat near the cliff to rescue the pup, who is now recovering. Well, Joplin woman is trying to spread a message about common misconception concerning human trafficking. Angie Brower from Rafa International in Joplin recently addressed UN delegates on the subject remotely. She says many young victims get brainwashed and don't see themselves as victims. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
And as you head out the door, you do need to know we've got heat advisories kicking in this afternoon. They'll run through 8 o'clock tonight, and then they'll go into effect again tomorrow and run through at least 8 or 9 p.m. as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if they get reissued. 75 in Joplin right now, and most of us starting our day in the lower to mid-70s across the board, so not a bad start to the day. But here's where the problems come in, and hence the heat advisories. Our dew points this morning are already up there in the 70s, putting us in the muggy to soupy range, which is going to make it very unpleasant later. We're talking heat index values pushing 105, maybe a bit higher as afternoon highs push the mid to upper 90s. So we get those heat advisories. There are some chances of some isolated storms, maybe 1 or 2 across the area. Clearing out for the night, lows dropping into the 70s, a bit more mild this evening, but still not bad. Southeast breeze at 5 to 10. And as you head into the weekend, heat advisories continue tomorrow. Isolated storms are still possible tomorrow. Clearing out for Sunday, both days, about 99 degrees. And then, of course, we've got those heat advisories. And quick look at the future track will show us some of those potential pop-up storms around the area as we head into the evening. And then as we head into tomorrow as well, maybe a few more numerous pop-up storms, but again, not super widespread. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News when we come back.
3 boys from New Jersey are back home, safe and sound.
They went missing Monday after going for a bike ride.
When officers couldn't find them, they brought in the big dogs, bloodhounds, to track their scent.
Howard Monroe has the story.
The whole neighborhood was looking for us. I mean, the whole neighborhood.
This may look like a regular youth summer art camp, but for brothers Kai and Leo Evans, the Maker's Workshop is pretty much the only place they can go. With another friend, they got lost on Monday while riding their bikes through the woods in Magnolia. It took departments from Camden and Gloucester counties to find them.
Thank you if you guys are watching this. I'm grateful that you guys found us. It's actually mostly Shiloh that found us.
Shiloh is a bloodhound with the Gloucester County Sheriff's Department. When the boys couldn't be found for hours, she was called in for help.
They're trained on human scent, which is we give them a specific scent article and they're trained to track that specific human scent.
The Sheriff's Office first got bloodhounds in 2013. They're trained in looking for kids and older adults with Alzheimer's or dementia. To find Kai, Leo, and their friend, they collected their bed sheets. But a major roadblock is the creek they were walking through to find the boys.
Sometimes the water was a couple inches, other times it was over our thighs up to the waist.
After a mile walking through the creek, the boys were found.
Come around the corner through the creek and there's these 3 kids standing in the creek like Lord of the Flies, just hanging out.
Their grandmother says that they'll be spending a lot more time at home.
I heard they got grounded.
No, I didn't tell them they were grounded until they got home. Actually, in the car. In the car, I was like, and just so you know, you are confined to the backyard and the house for the rest of the summer.
Well, the boys were not seriously hurt.
Certainly incredible. And police say they had looked up on YouTube videos how to survive in the wild. There's so much you can learn from YouTube these days.
That is awesome that they did that.
That's incredible. But there's also a lot of stuff you don't want to watch on YouTube. And then my youngest watches some of the most bizarre videos I have ever seen. Like, they're not bad. Now, let me clarify. They're not like bad or inappropriate. They're just very strange. And it's the fact that I think more about somebody's actually putting this stuff together.
Well, and it's amazing what the information kids retain. Just like knowledge about sharks and just random things. And my 8-year-old will spout out things that probably could be on Jeopardy. Who knows?
Yeah. Maybe we should have Kids Jeopardy again. They haven't done that in a while.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do that.
Okay. You want to compete against the kids?
No. I want the kids here to compete against each other.
Oh, that would be fun.
I think it'd be pretty cool. Well, we got another check of your forecast right after this. We're starting the day pretty nice today. Most of us in lower to mid 70s, and we also have dew points that just about match those temperatures, unfortunately. And that's putting us in the muggy to soupy range. That's why we have heat advisories. It's going to get toasty. Heat index values pushing close to 105 as afternoon temperatures push the mid to upper 90s. Those heat advisories kick in. Maybe some isolated storms as we head through the night. Skies will clear. Temperatures in the 70s with a southeast breeze at 5 to 10. More of the KOAM Morning News after this.
Coming up, the city of Joplin decides how to move forward after Proposition Public Safety fails to gain enough votes for passage.
The sun will officially rise at 6:26. Before it does so, take a look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? It's going to be another hot one. Well, the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And one of the biggest events in the area kicks off after a 2-year hiatus. Marion Days is back.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. It is a glorious morning.
It's really
to
pretty
start the
outside.
day.
Right
It is. That sunrise this morning looks absolutely beautiful. And that's the thing is we have been treated to some really nice sunrises and sunsets across the area. This is live from 7th and Rangeline. As it happens, the sun will eventually come peeking up over that tree line. Before it does so, though, pretty decent. 74 to start the day in Joplin under those clear skies. It's in the lower to mid 70s for the majority of us this morning. Unfortunately, dew points match that, being in the 70s as well, putting us in the muggy to soupy range. So while we don't have a heat index yet, it's going to be pushing about 105 later today as temperatures warm into the mid to upper 90s. Those heat advisories do kick in. They'll run through 8 o'clock tonight. Some isolated storms are possible. So heading to the overnight, though, it's going to clear out. Nice temperatures tonight in the 70s, southeast breeze 5 to 10. And your weekend forecast, the heat advisories will return on Saturday. They might return on Sunday. Temperatures pushing close to 100, but otherwise sunny and hot. Maybe some isolated storms on Saturday as well. So not bad overall, but still hot. But what we're seeing a trend of is more isolated thunderstorm chances over the next several days. And so that's something that we certainly do need is additional rainfall. And while these are isolated storms, any area that gets the rains, they're going to be in love with that rain.
Yeah, everybody wants it, but not everybody's going to get it, unfortunately.
That's right. But I mean, the way that some of the models show it is, we may see some isolated storms in southwest Missouri today, and then tomorrow they may be slightly more concentrated in southeast Kansas. So one way or another, we'll all get a little bit. It'll just be varied how we get it and when we get it.
All right, sounds good. We'll keep an eye on that. Thanks, Chris. Well, authorities in Oklahoma identify a body found along I-44 near the Miami exit last week. Authorities say the body is that of 53-year-old Richard Ashley of Chelsea, Oklahoma. An autopsy determined Ashley died from being hit by a vehicle. Investigators say the driver did not stop or report the incident. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol and the Quapaw Nation Marshal Service are trying to identify what vehicle was involved. And a Grove, Oklahoma woman is charged with aggravated trafficking of fentanyl. In May, investigators received a tip that Julie Wise was dealing large amounts of fentanyl pills from her home. After stopping a vehicle leaving Wise's home for making an illegal U-turn, police found her in possession of 200 pills. The 30-year-old admitted that since March, she has purchased about 1,000 pills, selling for $30 each. Wise is also charged with possession of a firearm after a felony conviction and unlawful use of a telecommunications facility. City of Joplin is considering its next steps after the failure of Proposition Public Safety this week. That proposal was to fund new wage scales for the police and fire departments through a property tax hike. City Manager Nick Edwards says listening to and understanding what voters want is the next step.
There was a lot of different concerns and different ideas that were posted and discussed as part of the lead up to that election, and so fully understanding that feedback and working on a plan to continue to improve our public safety services is what we'll do next.
Edwards says the city will have to make plans that voters would ultimately approve. Well, Joplin School District officials are putting the word out about a change at the state level, making it easier to become certified as a substitute teacher. Now in Missouri, it takes only 36 college credit hours to become certified, where it previously took 60. There's also a 20-hour online training course that you can take. Joplin officials hope the change will encourage more people to apply ahead of the coming school year. And a Joplin-based breastfeeding group is holding an event to celebrate World Breastfeeding Week. Chi-Chi Mamas is an online Facebook group with more than 3,000 members. They're holding a breastfeeding celebration this Saturday at 10:30 at Joplin's Senior Center.
This year, the event Chi-Chi Mamas and the breastfeeding celebration is centered around support. So that is a huge, huge thing that can make or break breastfeeding.
The group will also meet quarterly at the Joplin Health Department starting in November. Well, Marian Days is back. The annual festival has drawn tens of thousands of Vietnamese Catholics to Carthage every year through 2019, but it's been canceled the last 2 years due to COVID. It started back in 1978, celebrating the Virgin Mary every year on the first Thursday in August. Despite the 2-year hiatus, the spirit of Marian Days is still alive.
Because of the 2 year in between, so now when they come, they do have that spirit of a different one. I mean, I think it's a different one. I don't know how to express exactly the term for it, but I can see that they do have. Yeah.
Celebration runs through the weekend and the public is welcome. Coming up later in the show, our own Amber Jenkins takes us on a tour of Marian Days. On this date in 1957, one man combined the still new phenomena of rock and roll and television into one must-see program. Well, that man was Dick Clark, and the show was American Bandstand. Both became two of the most culturally significant forces in the early era of rock and roll. The program featured a number of new elements that became parts of its trademark, including the high school gym-like bleachers and the famous segment in which teenage studio guests rated the newest records on a scale from 25 to 98 and offered such criticisms as it's got a good beat and you can dance to it. American Bandstand aired 5 days a week in live national broadcast until 1963, when the show began a 24-year run as a taped weekly program with Dick Clark as host.
Dick Clark, of course, a legend, and I've seen clips of that show, and it's just absolutely incredible. It's definitely pioneering for its time. As he said, when rock and roll was still a new thing, Dick Clark said, you know what? Let's make a deal out of this. Speaking of rock and roll, we've got Bob coming in later.
That's right. We're going to learn about Bob's Rock and Roll Cycle and Cars show.
That's a nice combination.
Taking you back in time to check out some classic cars, and it should be fun. Yeah.
It absolutely should be fun, and that sunburn's still getting me. I've got the itchies in places I don't want to have them, and I just can't get rid of them.
Let me get you one of those back scratches.
We don't have any here, and that's a problem. So, bosses at home, we need KOAM back scratchers just kind of stored here, because this doesn't reach down there, and you just can't get to those space. Tim told me we do have rulers. Well, we have rulers. I knew we had yardsticks. I did not know we had rulers, so I might have to check out, do some investigating, find out about these rulers. Not much to investigate on the forecast. Future track showing us it's going to get hot. We're going to see some isolated storms across the area today. Those isolated storms will continue into tomorrow as well. And tied in with some of these isolated storms are heat advisories, which run through tomorrow, tonight and tomorrow, because we got heat index values pushing 105, maybe better in some areas.
All right, well, that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, as we tease, nothing says Friday quite like rock and roll and classic cars. And we've got Bob McAllister bringing both into the studio. You don't want to miss it.
I'd like to see this. We've got a big door. Maybe he can squeeze him in. Plus, a jury in Austin, Texas hands down its decision in the trial of conservative talk show host Alex Jones.
And a new study finds the number of people who suffer from long COVID symptoms may be as many as 1 in 8. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, a jury in Austin, Texas says conservative talk show host must pay more than $4 million to the parents of a 6-year-old killed in the 2012 Sandy Hook school shooting. Alex Jones had repeatedly claimed publicly that the attack was staged. Dina Demetrius reports.
Is this your verdict, the 10 of you who signed it?
A Texas jury has ordered Alex Jones to pay more than $4 million to the parents of Jesse Lewis, killed in the Sandy Hook massacre. It's the first time the InfoWars host has been held financially liable for falsely claiming the attack that killed 20 children and 6 educators in Newtown, Connecticut was a hoax.
I can't even describe the last 9.5 years of the living hell that I and others have had to endure because of the negligence and the recklessness of Alex Jones.
On his radio and webcast show InfoWars, Alex Jones repeatedly said the Sandy Hook school shooting was fabricated, but on the witness stand, he reversed course.
It's 100% real. I think Sandy Hook happened, and I think it's a terrible event.
Lawyers for the family brought up shocking revelations that Jones's attorney accidentally sent them years' worth of text messages showing Jones had withheld evidence.
Mr. Jones, in discovery, you were asked, do you have Sandy Hook text messages on your phone? And you said no, correct? You said that under oath.
I mean, if I was mistaken, but you blocked the messages right there.
You know it perfectly.
It was my goal when I started on this case to get this family a multi-million-dollar verdict for their pain and suffering, and I've already done that.
Last week, Jones's company filed for bankruptcy, but lawyers brought evidence into court showing at one point Jones made up to $800,000 a day from ads. Dina Demetrius, CBS News.
Thursday's award of more than $4 million is compensatory damages. The jury could order Jones to pay more in terms of punitive damages today. That's a look at one of today's top national stories. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. We've got a fun event we're going to learn more about here in just a few minutes. And I've got Bob McAllister joining us to tell us all about Bob's cycle and car show, rock and roll cycle and car show. Yes. So you're combining rock and roll music, the love of cars, motorcycles, everything all into one big event.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is going to be held at the Crawford County Historical Museum site, and it'll be a place to show off hot rods and bikes and everything.
Yeah.
Tell me what kind of vehicles you're looking for to sign up.
Oh, they can be like old cars. Like I got a 66 Chevy too that I'm going to bring mine. And they'll be older cars, a lot of older cars. I'm hoping they come from, well, I've been talking to ones out of Oklahoma, Kansas City, and I'm hoping to get a bunch of them to come down, but this hot weather, I hope that ain't gonna hurt them coming down.
Oh, I'm sure. It's cooler than it has been some weekends, so
Yeah.
hot, but still cruising weather.
Yeah.
There you go. So what is the let's talk about, like, if you have a bike or you have a car, what the registration fee would be, what you need to do if you have one. You don't have to sign up in advance, you just show up.
Yeah, all you got to show up bikes. Like cars is only $15 and bikes is only $10.
Okay. And the event starts at 9 o'clock. Do they
Yeah.
need to be there earlier than that, or?
Well, yeah, if they want to get a good shady spot. This place out there, it's got a lot of shade where you can, pick your spot, and that's what a lot of them does. They come early so they can get a good spot,
That's smart.
Yeah.
And also, while you're there hanging out, you're going to have live music throughout the day.
Yeah.
Talk about the bands you have playing.
Well, it's, well, I haven't heard them yet. It's call them Sunset Circle.
Sunset Circle.
And they're going to play from 10 to 12, and then I got this other one called OBH, and they're going to play from 1 to 3.
From 1 to 3. Okay, so you can check out some live music, check out some awesome cars and bikes. And there's prizes for the car show and the bike show.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what you have involved in that.
Well, I'm gonna have trophies, like for the best show and separate, and different prizes, different trophies I'm gonna be giving out, and then I get a lot of door prizes, like for the bikes and the cars, and I think they'll like it when they come down.
You're telling me a lot of the door prizes, like, are actual car parts that you could use on the...
No, it's just different stuff that they like. And not like bikes. I got a lot of good stuff for the bikes too.
Okay, like accessories. Is that what you're saying? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, and you're still looking. You have some vendors, but if somebody wanted to come and be a vendor, what do they need to do?
All they got to do is just come on out, and I'll be there, and find them a good place and try to get them out of the sun.
Yeah. And again, get there early if you want to find the good shade.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me where, for those of us that may not know where the Crawford County Historical Museum is, how to get to it.
Okay, it's on 651 South Highway, 69 Pittsburgh. Okay, it's located at the Crawford County Historic Museum.
And that's, of course, on the bypass on
Yeah,
Highway 69.
it's on 69 Highway.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else that, of course, if you have any questions, there's the phone number for Bob on the screen there, 620-231-0046.
Yep.
Anything else that we missed out on?
No, that's good. That's nice.
All right, well, it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay.
Hopefully you'll get lots of folks out there to come check out the cars. And if you have a car and you've been wanting to show it off or looking for a car show, this could be the perfect one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Bob.
Okay, thank you.
We'll be right back.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, a new Dutch study finds 1 in 8 people who had COVID-19 now suffer from so-called long COVID symptoms. Those symptoms include breathing problems, fatigue, and loss of taste and or smell. Doctors say the finding highlights the need for more research into what causes long-term COVID symptoms. The rising cost of healthcare is forcing Americans to make trade-offs. A survey by West Health and Gallup finds 98 million adults either delayed or skipped treatment or cut back on driving, utilities, and food in order to pay medical bills in the last 6 months. 1 in 4 say they simply avoided medical care or prescription drugs because of higher prices. And global warming could impact the health of children with record levels of obesity and inactivity among kids. Researchers say warmer temperatures put them at greater risk of dehydration, heat cramps, or heat stroke. They say exercise must be prioritized for children as the world gets hotter every year. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News, and we've got this beautiful sunrise. Look at that. It was even prettier just about 20 minutes ago. The sun will officially rise in about 3 minutes, and it'll start to peek up over these trees here. As we start the day in Joplin, it's 74. That dew point is 72. We're going to talk about that in just a second. All of us starting in the lower to mid 70s this morning, but unfortunately our dew points are starting in the lower to mid 70s as well, and therefore putting us in the muggy to soupy range, which is going to be a problem later. That's why we have heat advisories that go into effect this afternoon, and they'll run through about 8 o'clock tonight. Afternoon highs pushing the mid to upper 90s, and then maybe some isolated pop-up storms a little bit later in the day. Clear tonight. Temperatures getting back into the 70s, a bit more mild, but not too bad. Mostly clear otherwise, southeast breeze 5 to 10. And as we head into the weekend, some more isolated storms tomorrow. We also have heat advisories. They're going to run through Saturday, unfortunately. And then Sunday looking pretty decent. The only problem here is these temperatures pushing close to 100 and heat index values pushing 105 or slightly above. Future track will show us two things. One, it shows us these really warm temperatures across the area. 2, it shows us some of those isolated pop-up storms through tonight and into tomorrow. So we got this, we got some maybe in southeast Kansas, and then we'll see a few more storms throughout the early afternoon on Saturday. And the other thing is that rain doesn't do anything for heat index values. Look at that. It's going to be absolutely unpleasant. This is tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Those heat index values pushing close to 105. Temperatures do not let up at all until we start next week, where we have slightly better storm chances Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and temperatures soar again with triple digits expected by Thursday. More of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Coming up, the city of Joplin decides how to move forward after Proposition Public Safety fails to gain enough votes for passage.
Heat advisories today and tomorrow. And take a look at tomorrow's heat index values pushing close to 105, the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And one of the biggest events in the area kicks off after a 2-year hiatus. Marion Days is back.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 6:28. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. It's going to be pretty warm today. We got heat advisories. They're back. We had a brief break. Well, okay, so some of us in southeast Kansas did not have that break, but some of us did, and they're back, and they're going to stick around tonight and into tomorrow night as well, because it's going to be pretty hot. Not so hot right now, but that's because the sun is just starting to creep up into the sky, and we've noticed as soon as it does so, it gets hot. It's like yesterday. It was so nice from the rain, and then as soon as the clouds cleared, I mean, the temperature soared right behind that. So 74 in Joplin. Most of us starting lower to mid-70s on this fine Friday morning. Unfortunately, those dew points are matching our temperatures almost, which puts us in that muggy to soupy range. So no heat index this morning, but that's going to change later today. Heat advisories kicking in. Heat index values pushing close to 105 with afternoon highs pushing in the mid to upper 90s. We might see some isolated thunderstorms late afternoon and through the evening. Clearing out tonight, though, lows dropping off into the 70s with a southeast breeze at 5 to 10. And if you've got some weekend plans, don't worry about that thunderstorm icon. These are going to be isolated storms around the area tomorrow. So, I mean, do have a plan just in case, because remember, when thunder roars, head indoors. It's nice to be able to say that, too, because I haven't talked a lot about rain here lately. Outside of the isolated thunderstorms, heat advisory Saturday, and they will probably be reissued for Sunday as both days temperatures approaching 100 degrees.
It's going to be hot, but it'll be manageable, especially if we have the idea that rain could be coming here and there.
Right, and that's the thing is over the next several days we have some assorted chances of thunderstorms, and we're looking at some better chances at the start of next week. So not necessarily a big line of storms or anything right now coming through, but we've got just storm chances, kind of like what we saw yesterday, where we get those scattered storms that are just kind of sprinkled into the area. So any rain we get is always helpful, and we do have some better chances in the coming days.
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, the city of Joplin is considering its next steps after the failure of Proposition Public Safety this week. That proposal was to fund new wage scales for the police and fire departments through a property tax hike. City Manager Nick Edwards says listening to and understanding what voters want is the next step.
There was a lot of different concerns and different ideas that were posted and discussed as part of the lead up to that election, and so fully understanding that feedback and working on a plan to continue to improve our public safety services is what we'll do next.
Edwards says the city will have to make plans that voters would ultimately approve. Missouri Southern's Webster Hall is getting a colorful student hangout. A space that was formerly used as storage is now becoming a new spot for students to relax between classes. The Department of Art and Design Administration and participants in MSSU's Leadership Academy are creating a floor-to-ceiling mural on 2 walls adjacent to the main staircase.
We thought, you know what, it'd be great if we could clean up a space for students to hang out in. And so this is the building we gravitated towards. And as we wanted to kind of push the boundaries of what we were doing, we thought, oh, it'd be really cool if we could get a mural.
A local furniture store is donating all the furniture for Webster Hall's new student corner. Well, yesterday marked the first Thursday of August, which means it's time for another art walk in downtown Joplin. One of the businesses taking part, Club 609. They presented work by artist couple Jim and Diana Bray through a show called The Vanishing Landscape. Now, Jim uses acrylics and Diana uses 3D abstracts.
Those areas that I grew up around, I kind of stayed with me. And I've been always interested in the old wooden houses, barns, and all of the things that were left by the people who migrated into that area.
There are 2 art walks left, meaning October will be the last month to attend this year. Well, Marian Days is back in Carthage. The annual festival has drawn tens of thousands of Vietnamese Catholics every year through 2019, but it was canceled the last 2 years due to COVID. KOAM's Amber Jenkins attended this year's event.
It was a pain because it was like 6 hours of just sitting in the car, but it's all right. It's worth coming here.
Brennan has been to 5 Marian Days celebrations. He's excited that Marian Days is back because of the praise and worship at night is a sight to see.
Oh, praise and worship at night, it hits different because you see like a lot of multiple bands just singing and it gets you, you know.
This celebration is more than just fun. Marian Days recharges Brandon's faith.
Recharge your faith back, you know. Doing this, it brings your faith more and more, you know.
Brandon's faith is important to him. In today's world, faith is all you got.
Because we see the world right now, you know, there's a lot of chaos and stuff, and we just have to be grateful for what we have until you never know what's going to happen tomorrow.
The celebration runs through Sunday and is open to the public.
Okay.
There you are.
That's sunburn, I'm telling you. Well, this morning,
He just really needs his back scratched. There you go.
No idea. It's bad. It's been bad. Well, this morning, we're discussing Breonna Taylor. On Thursday, outside a Louisville courthouse, Breonna Taylor's family and their attorney marking a, quote, huge step towards justice following the botched raid that killed the 26-year-old black woman in 2020. 4 current and former Louisville police officers have been charged with civil rights violations and other federal counts in connection with the raid. Former Detective Joshua Janes, Sergeant Kyle Meany, and Detective Kelly Goodlett were charged with submitting a false affidavit to search Taylor's home before the raid. Ex-Detective Brett Hankinson, who fired 10 shots into Taylor's home during the raid, was charged with several federal counts, including depriving Taylor and others of their constitutional rights. On Thursday, Taylor's mom, Tamika Palmer, said she's waited 874 days for federal charges to be filed. And that brings us to our something to talk about this morning. Do you think that the officers in the Breonna Taylor case should have been charged? Yes or no? You can vote, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Do so in the app. Of course, take part in the discussion on Facebook. And so far, 59% of you say yes, and 41% of you say no.
Just a half an hour ago, there was quite a larger range between the yeses and nos.
There
it
was
over almost 73% or something like that saying yes. So
make sure you take part in the poll and take part in the discussion as well.
All right.
Our forecast looking pretty decent. It's going to be toasty as we head through the day. Isolated storms later today and a few more isolated to widely scattered storms as we head through Saturday as well. But otherwise, heat advisories go into effect. Temperatures pushing the mid to upper 90s. Heat index values close to 105.
All right, that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. If it's Friday, then our own Shannon Becker. Hey, wave. He's in studio with his big 3 stories of the week.
Plus, we've got to look at all the news you need to know before you head out the door. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. We've got Shannon Becker in studio this morning with the big 3 stories of the week.
Yeah, what's live, local, what's happening?
Yeah.
So right now, number 3 this week, Joplin News First. We might know this guy, Doug Hetty, you think? Well, the 88-strong Christian Hetty Foundation has their first big event. We talked about this last weekend. It's a big story. Now they're having a 5K walk and run, kickball and cornhole tournaments. So it's kind of a collage of different events coming up. But you can register now for that September 17th event in Webb City at the King Jack Park. So,
and there's lots of things that you can participate
in.
Yeah,
a lot.
Yeah.
And they're going to have some music and some other stuff, but you can go to our website, KOAM News Now, and all the details are right there. Oh, that's an amazing, amazing legacy that we're helping to continue. Our number 2 story, Joplin News First, it was on I-49 Monday night. Harley Davidson driven by a Joplin man was rear-ended by a vehicle. Now, as authorities arrived, they thought it was just a one-vehicle crash, but there were paint markings on the Harley Davidson like someone had rear-ended it. They still don't know what vehicle did. If you have any information, you can contact the Missouri State Highway Patrol or Newton County Sheriff's Office. The driver is expected to survive. However, he suffered critical injuries. Our number one story, it's the tragic end to a story that we've been following for the last 3 weeks.
Yes.
In Carytown, Missouri, just north of Carthage, south of Jasper, a body was discovered in a long abandoned farmhouse. It was in a vehicle around behind the farmhouse. It's the body of the missing Michelle Stone from Alba, Missouri. It's, like I said, it's a sad end to this story. Her dog Liberty, though, which was also missing, was found okay. She's very thirsty, they said, so she's hopefully making a recovery.
She'd been missing since mid-July.
Yeah, July 15th, I believe. And then our bonus story, you've been talking about it, is your tummy rumbling for some pho?
Oh,
or what? Or that's
yes.
What's that? Bobo tea? Bobo tea,
Just
yeah.
anything.
Oh,
some
I
good
did not like the
Vietnamese
bobo
food,
tea,
yes.
but this was last night. We were at Marion Days, and it's our bonus story of the week. It's open to the public, and you can try out Vietnamese food. Or here's what's really neat: the Knights of Columbus in Carthage, they do a fundraising restaurant every year, and so you can get corn dogs, hamburgers, French fries. You get well, I would say, take the kids and get normal food, you know, because I don't know about you, but the kids, oh, I don't want to eat that. Well,
Call it normal. It'd be American food.
there
compared
you
to the
go.
Vietnamese food.
There you go. Yeah, see, I'm a Southwest Missouri guy. Give me that fried Oreo, okay?
Mom and Dad can eat the good Vietnamese food, and you get the kids the corn dogs. There you go.
It's our bonus story, and that is going on right now in Carthage. They'll be there through Sunday at Marion Days.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us this morning for your big three.
Yes, no
All
problem.
Right. I'm sure you're off and about to go catch the next latest breaking news.
Yes, and find us on the web, KOAM News Now.
All right. We'll be right back. We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Chief Petty Officer Stephen Whitson, the native of Independence, Kansas, served during the Vietnam War and Operation Desert Storm on board the USS Tripoli and USS Ogden. This highly decorated veteran earned a number of awards, including 2 Navy Achievement Medals, a Vietnam Service Medal, 4 Good Conduct Medals, 7 Sea Service Medals, and an Iraqi Liberation Medal. That's just to name a few. To Chief Petty Officer Stephen Whitson, we thank you. Today's four-state hero.
It's finally Friday, and it's time to celebrate some big Friday birthdays. We begin in St. Paul with Emery K. Guard turning 1 today, a major birthday for Emery, and this comes with love from Grandma and Grandpa.
And I would like to get an adult-sized version of that shirt. It doesn't necessarily have to be a onesie, but I love it. If you can't read it, it says, "Come on, Barbie, let's go party."
That is a classic.
Which
means Emery's already a classic.
Spawned a little song in the.
What you guys don't know about what happens off camera here, I tell you.
All right, happy birthday, Emery in St. Paul. And a happy 5th birthday to Canyon Colum in Neosho. Today is his golden birthday with love from Nana and Papa.
We've also got Anna Meekna, in Lamar, turning 7 today. A very happy birthday to you, Anna.
All right, I like flamingos too. And Skylar Kramer celebrating birthday number 11 this year in Girard.
We also have William Bishop, just to the east of there in Pittsburgh, turning 13 years old today. Happy birthday, William.
All right, and also in Pittsburgh, Caitlin Ridenauer celebrating birthday number 19 this year with love from Yaya and Uncle Jamie.
And we've got Andrea Pauley turning 31 years old over in St. Paul. Andrea, happy birthday to you.
Out in Jasper, Brandy Rush celebrating birthday number 41 this year.
And we have in Weir, Steve Saporito turning 55. And you see Steve Saporito is our administrative assistant, Shelly Saporito's brother-in-law. So she should be bringing something to celebrate here.
Extended family from
Steve,
KOAM.
absolutely. Steve, make sure you celebrate this birthday in the most amazing way possible.
We got a big one to celebrate out in St. Paul with Dan O'Brien, who's celebrating 60 years old this year. Birthday love coming from your 5 daughters and 14 grandchildren.
Talk about a celebration. You know the presents are going to be piling up. We've got Dana Storm over in Jasper turning 62 years old today. Happy birthday, Dana.
And Kent Brumbaugh celebrating 62 as well. Kent is in Pittsburgh.
And check this out. Jerry Brumbaugh turning 92 in Pittsburgh. That's Kent's mom. Both celebrating a birthday today. Happy birthday, guys. Talk about another big party in the Burg.
I love that picture. Great one. Let's see, Stephen Riddle turning 67 years old this year in Chanute. Happy birthday, Stephen.
And we've got Bonnie Wells in Joplin turning 81. She's pictured here with her husband and their Rolls Royce. Talk about a classic looking stylish car right there.
Hey, they could roll on over to the car show in Pittsburgh this
They
weekend.
certainly could. They could rock and roll
There
over
you go.
to that car show. Happy birthday, Bonnie.
And let's see, it's a golden anniversary for the Barcelonas. Congrats going out to John and Maureen Barcelona, 50 years of wedded bliss.
And we've got Fred and Nancy Garzone in Pittsburgh celebrating their 55th anniversary. A very happy anniversary to you, Fred and Nancy.
All right, our birthday list goes on. We've got Joanne Wood turning 80 years old this year in Pittsburgh and Carl Duvall in Miami. Happy birthday.
And also Calvin Brodman in Yates Center, Brodman. His birthday is on Sunday. No reason you can't celebrate all weekend long, and you might as well. He's turning 99 years old. That calls for a 3-day celebration, if I say so. So Calvin, get out there and make sure you make it a great one.
All right, if you have a birthday or an anniversary, you can submit them to us at birthdayswithans@KOAMTV.com, or you can go online at birthdays@KOAMNewsNow.com.
And while you're there, make sure you sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club. You get some incredible deals from local businesses. It's super easy. Just go search for that KOAM Birthday Club and get signed up today. Well, take a look at this sunrise. It looks lovely. The sun's coming up above that tree line. 74 to start the day in Joplin with a nice calm wind. All of us starting in roughly the lower to mid-70s on this fine Friday morning. Here's the problem, though. We got these dew points that are up there, too, close to our temperature. Those dew points, even though there's not a heat index this early in the morning, they're in that muggy to soupy range right now, and they are going to contribute to some unpleasant conditions later. We have heat advisories that kick in later today. They run through 8 o'clock tonight. Afternoon highs in the mid to upper 90s. Heat index values pushing 105, maybe a bit above. We do some isolated thunderstorm chances later today and into the evening as well. That clears out. Overnight, it gets nice. It gets mild. 70s for overnight lows with a southeast breeze at 5 to 10. And if you're heading out this weekend, look at that. It's going to be a hot one. Heat advisories continue through Saturday. But we also have those isolated storm chances continuing through Saturday as well. 99 Saturday, 99 Sunday, sunny and hot otherwise. So let's take a look at some of those thunderstorm chances real quick. This is 5 o'clock this evening. There were a few that popped up, kind of dies down. And you see a few more popping up in southwest Missouri, parts of northwest Arkansas as we head into the overnight. And then we have a few more of them early tomorrow morning. The wave just kind of pushes them on through. Some more developing in southeast Kansas and a few more isolated storms late morning and into the early afternoon hours, and then it just kind of dies out after that. Heat index values tomorrow once again getting to an uncomfortable level with them pushing from 101 to near 105 for a lot of us, and they don't get any better either as we head into Sunday, which is why I wouldn't be surprised if we see those heat advisories extended. Heat index values again coming close to 105. And on the 7-day forecast, isolated storms today, tomorrow, hot on Sunday. As we head into next week, slightly better chances of some scattered storms, and it does a little bit for the temperatures, drops us down just a few degrees. Once that knocks it off and stops bringing us isolated storm chances, check out Thursday, 100 degrees by Thursday. And a quick look at the long range. Yeah. I don't know if anybody likes those numbers, but it's going to get hot, and it's going to stay that way into next weekend. So an unpleasant situation all around. Well, the news you need to know is up next. But first, let's check in and see what's happening on CBS Mornings.
I'm Michelle Miller. Coming up on CBS Mornings, country music legend John Anderson talks with Anthony Mason about comebacks in his music career, and from a debilitating illness. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Authorities in Oklahoma identify a body found along I-44 near the Miami exit last week. Authorities say the body is that of 53-year-old Richard Ashley of Chelsea, Oklahoma. An autopsy determined Ashley died from being hit by a vehicle. Investigators say the driver did not stop or report the incident. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol and Quapaw Nation Marshal Service are trying to identify what vehicle was involved. A Grove, Oklahoma woman is charged with aggravated trafficking of fentanyl. In May, investigators received a tip that Julie Wise was dealing large amounts of fentanyl pills from her home. After stopping a vehicle leaving Wise's home for making an illegal U-turn, police found her in possession of 200 pills. The 30-year-old admitted that since March, she has purchased about 1,000 pills, selling for $30 each. Wise is also charged with possession of a firearm after a felony conviction and unlawful use of a telecommunications facility. Well, a heroic rescue in Joplin on Thursday. Firefighters assisted the city's animal control to rescue a dog that had fallen off the top of the cliffs at Wildcat Glades, commonly known as Mother Nature's Crack. Officials say the dog appeared to have been there 3 or 4 days and was injured and dehydrated. Crews climbed down and brought a boat near the cliff to rescue the pup, who is now recovering. A Joplin woman is trying to spread a message about common misconception concerning human trafficking. Angie Brower from Rafa International in Joplin recently addressed UN delegates on the subject remotely. She says many young victims get brainwashed and don't see themselves as victims. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Heat advisories go into effect later today with heat index values pushing close to 105. It's going to be mid to upper 90s for afternoon highs. We have a good chance or a decent chance of isolated storms later this evening across some of the area. And of course, it's really going to get hot heading into the overnight. Storm chances kind of clear out. Temperatures dropping into the 70s. A bit more mild this evening with a southeast breeze about 5 to 10 miles an hour. Quick check of the weekend forecast. If you got some plans, isolated thunderstorms are possible on Saturday, and the heat advisories also go back into effect Saturday, so it's going to be another hot one. Again, heat index values around 105. Maybe an isolated thunderstorm as we mentioned on Saturday. Otherwise, it's going to be hot. It's going to be sunny. Highs pushing close to 100. And a quick check of the 7-day forecast shows us isolated storm chances will return as we start the week. Maybe even some scattered storm chances. And there's a difference in that terminology between isolated means here or there. Scattered means a few more. So maybe some scattered storms start off next week. They drop temperatures down a couple of degrees before they return back to the triple digits as we head into the middle of next week. But the overnight lows, oh man, they're going to be pretty mild until we hit next week too. Some of them pushing close to 80 degrees overnight. So it's definitely still summer, but at least we're seeing a few more rain chances with these high temperatures versus the last couple of weeks where we had the 100-degree days and no rain chances, period. So that's a welcome sign.
There you go. Well, coming up today at noon, we're making garden chicken and veggies in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Interesting. Your morning news, of course, continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. The Biden administration has declared monkeypox a public health emergency. Coming up on CBS Mornings, White House COVID response coordinator Dr. Ashish Jha tells us what the government plans to do to contain the outbreak.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. And this morning, our own Shannon Becker steps back into the studio to deliver the big 3 news stories of the week.
Plus, we'll meet a 17-year-old pilot who's trying to break a very lofty record. That's going to wrap it up for us for now, though. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning. And no, we will not.
Monday.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll be here tomorrow morning. You never know where I'm going to be or what exactly I'm going to be doing. We're going to see Monday morning at 5 a.m. You can tell it's Friday.
And we're going to do it all again today at noon.